Madeline King said this week that Labor won't stand in the way of new coal mines. Do you believe that coal will be exported beyond 2050?
I think coal has a significant part to play in our economy for a long time to come. And I think, metallurgical coal will be part of the making of steel for a long time to come. And I think thermal coal, there is still very much a market for that overseas as well, and that's fine. And we've made it absolutely clear that we see that as a critical part of the Australian economy, and that those people who work in that industry need to be celebrated for the role they're playing in the economy of Queensland, but the economy of the nation. And so, it is an important part of where we're going. At the same time, we should be developing renewable energy in this country so that we can do what we can to get to net zero emissions, but also because that's a cheap form of energy. And that's the way forward in terms of repowering our industry and our manufacturing in this country, so much of which we have lost over the last 8 years.
Just a couple of quick ones, Richard, before you go. National Cabinet agreeing in principle to speed up the rollout of AstraZeneca for those aged over 50. What's your reaction to that, particularly at a time, as you know, that confidence for a lot of people has been shot?
Well, I think it does need to be sped up, but we need to not forget that the Prime Minister actually said 4 million of us were meant to be vaccinated in March. That hasn't happened because we have had an incredibly slow rollout of the vaccine across the country. If the Prime Minister's got one job this year, it is to vaccinate Australia. Right now, that seems in peril. It is not just a matter of speeding up the distribution of what vaccines we have, although that is very important. It's about actually getting the supply of vaccines. And our criticism fundamentally of the government is that last year, in the midst of their self-congratulation, they were completely complacent. And rather than placing Australia in an appropriate number of queues of the various vaccine projects that were underway at that time, they really bet the house on the manufacture of AstraZeneca here and on it doing the lion's share of the work of vaccinating Australia. Well, now we're in a position where they're not going to use AstraZeneca for people under 50, and that's placed the country in a really difficult situation. We risk the rest of the world vaccinating, North America and Western Europe, getting on the other side of COVID-19 while we're being left behind. And if that happens, that's going to have an enormously negative economic impact on the country.
Okay, and just finally, I've only got a short amount of time, but your role, Shadow Defence, your previous role, Shadow Defence, you must be pleased that they're pushing ahead with the Royal Commission into vet suicide.
Look, really pleased. We've been calling for this for a long time now, much more than a year. It's taken a while for the government to get there, but I'm really pleased that the government finally has. It's a really difficult issue. The rate of veteran suicide is twice the national average. It's a really complicated issue. It's why we need a Royal Commission to get to the bottom of it. But this is a really important step.